Welcome to the deep dive. You ready to get social?
I am. Always ready to dive into the social mind.
Awesome. So today it's all about The Social Animal by Elliot Aronson.
Yep. Classic exploration of why we humans do the things we do.
And listener, you've sent in some great excerpts from the book, so we're going to unpack those juicy bits. It's going to be like a backstage pass to your own brain. You ready for this?
I think one of the things that makes The Social Animal so cool is it's not just a dry textbook,
Yeah.
Aronson brings in these real-world examples that make you go, oh, wow, that's why I do that weird thing.
Exactly. So let's jump right in, shall we? First up, cognitive biases. Those sneaky little mental shortcuts that, well, sometimes trip us up.
Right, like confirmation bias. We've all been there. Yeah.
Totally.
It's where we cling to information that confirms what we already believe,
Yeah.
even if it's maybe a little off.
Oh, I am so guilty of this. Remember that new productivity app we talked about?
Yeah.
I was convinced it would change my life, so I only read the 5-star reviews, totally ignored all the negative ones.
Mm-hmm.
Classic confirmation bias, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not just ignoring stuff that doesn't fit our views.
Yeah.
It's also actively seeking out stuff that does,
We build those echo chambers.
Exactly.
So how do we break out of that echo chamber?
Yeah, first you got to know it's there, right? Awareness is huge. And then I think making a real effort to seek out different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Even if they make you a little uncomfortable.
I like that, like a mental workout.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next up, we've got heuristics. Those mental shortcuts that help us make quick decisions, but, like you said, they can also lead to some pretty wonky judgments.
Totally. You're at the store and you're trying to pick a laptop, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to research every single model, so you might just go with the brand.
Yeah.
Or the one your friend recommended,
Oh, yeah, I do that all the time. Heuristics can be helpful.
For sure. But here's the thing. Sometimes the shortcuts we use aren't so reliable. Have you ever heard of the availability heuristic?
The availability heuristic? I don't think so. Fill me in.
Okay, so it basically makes us think something is more likely to happen just because we can easily remember examples of it.
Wait, so if I see a news story about a plane crash, I'm suddenly terrified of flying, even though statistically it's super safe.
Exactly. Our brains tend to focus on those vivid emotional events, and that can really mess with our sense of, actual risk.
Okay, this is making me rethink all those times I've trusted my gut. All right, what about the fundamental attribution error? I've heard that term, but what does it mean?
So it's this tendency we have to blame someone's personality for their behavior, instead of considering, the situation they're in.
Oh, when someone cuts you off in traffic and you're like, what a jerk.
Exactly. We assume they're just a bad person, right?
Yeah.
But maybe they're rushing to the hospital or something. We just don't know.
It's a good reminder to try to be more understanding. The Social Animal is really making me see how much my environment shapes how I see things. It's we're all caught in this web of influence,
Absolutely. And to break free, you got to see the web first. That's where being aware of these biases comes in.
It's a whole new way of looking at the world.
It is. Social psychology can be pretty mind-blowing. It helps us understand not just ourselves, but the whole crazy dance of human interaction.
Okay, well, I'm definitely feeling more self-aware already.
Good. That's the first step.
All right, so we've talked about those sneaky cognitive biases. Now let's dive into something that's, I think, both fascinating and kind of scary. Conformity.
Yeah, conformity is like this invisible force that pushes us to go along with the group, even when, we might not agree.
Oh, totally. Remember the time we went to that fancy restaurant?
Yeah. What was it called?
I don't remember the name. But anyway, I ordered escargot just because everyone else was having it.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I was secretly freaking out about eating snails.
Huh. See, that's conformity in action. You didn't want to, stand out. You were totally influenced by the situation.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that research paper you sent over about workplace culture.
Oh, yeah. The one that talked about how conformity can actually, stifle creativity.
Exactly. When everyone's so worried about fitting in, they might not speak up, even if they have great ideas.
Right. It's everyone's walking on eggshells, afraid to rock the boat. And the Social Animal really digs into this idea, right?
Oh, yeah. Aronson talks about how our need to belong, to be part of the group, can be stronger than logic sometimes.
It's pretty powerful stuff. And it reminds me of that classic experiment, the ash line experiment.
Oh, yeah, where people had to judge the length of lines.
Right, and they'd give the wrong answer just because everyone else in the group was giving the wrong answer.
It's crazy, right? It shows just how strong social pressure can be. Even when we know the group's wrong, we still want to fit in.
So it's not just about like wanting to be liked. There's also this fear of being, I don't know, rejected by the group if you're different.
Oh, absolutely. Social rejection can be a really powerful motivator, you know. We're wired to connect with others.
Makes sense. But isn't there also part of us that like wants to be right? So if everyone else is saying something, maybe they know something we don't.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too. We look to others for guidance, especially when we're not sure what the right answer is.
Like that saying safety in numbers.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Relying on the group can be dangerous too, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like groupthink.
Right. When everyone just goes along with the crowd, you can end up with some really bad decisions.
So how do we like balance this? How do we fit in but also think for ourselves?
Well, I think it starts with like being aware of the power of conformity and then having the courage to speak up when you disagree, even if it's hard.
It takes guts.
It does. And, you know, conformity isn't always bad. It can help us cooperate and like keep society functioning smoothly.
Hmm.
Think about driving.
Yeah, we all agree to follow the rules of the road.
Exactly. It keeps things safe. The key is knowing when conformity is helpful and when it's, holding us back from thinking critically.
I'm seeing conformity in a whole new light now. Okay, so switching gears a bit, let's talk persuasion. Like, how do we get convinced to do things, to buy a certain product, or believe in an idea?
Ooh, good one. Aronson talks a lot about persuasion and how it's this like dance between the persuader, the message, and the audience.
Okay, so break it down for me. What makes someone persuasive?
Well, credibility is huge. We're more likely to be swayed by someone we see as like an expert.
Makes sense. I'm way more likely to trust my doctor's advice than like some random person on the internet.
Right. Expertise matters.
Hmm.
But also how likable they are,
Yeah.
especially for things that aren't like super serious decisions.
Oh, so that's why we see all those celebrity endorsements. We like the celebrities, so we're more likely to buy the product.
Exactly. Think about those salespeople who can like talk you into anything.
Yeah, they're so smooth. But it's not all about the person delivering the message, right? The message itself matters too.
Oh, for sure. The way the information is presented, the arguments they use, the emotional appeals, it all plays a role.
So you could have a great message and a really credible person, but it still might not work on everyone, right? We're all different.
Exactly. Our personality, our values, all those things influence how we respond to persuasion. What works on one person might not work on another. Remember that article on marketing psychology you sent?
Oh, yeah, the one that talked about how marketers target different groups of people.
Right. Like they'll tailor their message to appeal to a person's desire for status or belonging or, even fear.
Yeah. It's pretty wild how they tap into our deepest motivations.
It is. Good persuaders. They really understand their audience.
This is making me want to analyze every ad I see. All right, let's talk about something a little more fun. Attraction. What makes us, attracted to certain people?
Ugh, attraction. A classic topic. It's this mix of like biology, psychology, and social factors. And Aronson really gets into it. He talks about like the role of physical appearance.
Okay, let's be real. Looks matter. But is it all about like superficial beauty?
Well, there's this thing called the halo effect.
Halo effect? That sounds kind of mystical.
It is kind of. Basically, it means we tend to see attractive people as having all these positive qualities, even if we don't know anything about them.
Like we just assume they're also kind and intelligent and all that.
Exactly. Like that marketing campaign with the really attractive model promoting. I don't even remember what the product was.
Ah, yeah, but we were like, ooh, shiny. It's like a bias, right?
Totally. And it can be pretty unfair. We might underestimate someone who's not conventionally attractive, even if they're amazing.
Yeah, the social animal is really making me think about those unconscious biases. Like, I bet that halo effect happens all the time in hiring and dating, everywhere.
It probably does.
Okay, but looks aren't everything, right? What else matters when it comes to attraction?
Similarity is huge. We're drawn to people who are like us.
Mm.
Same values, same interests, even similar personalities.
It's like that feeling of, oh, you get me.
Exactly. It gives you that sense of connection. You can talk about things you both enjoy. You're less likely to disagree about stuff.
Like that saying, birds of a feather flock together. And even online dating sites use this, right? They try to match people based on similarities.
Yep. It's all about finding those commonalities. And it's not just about being the same. It's also about like admiring qualities in someone that you might wish you had more of yourself.
So you're not just looking for a mirror image, you're looking for someone who, I don't know, inspires you a little.
I think so. It's like a mix of familiarity and aspiration.
Wow. Okay, I need to rethink my whole dating profile.
Yeah.
All right, last thing. Proximity. What's the deal with that? How does just being near someone affect attraction?
It's surprisingly important. We tend to be drawn to people we see often, you know, neighbors, classmates, coworkers.
Like, the more you're around someone, the more you get to know them, and maybe you start to like them.
Yeah.
Just like you at that new yoga studio.
Oh, yeah.
You ended up becoming friends with the person whose mat was always next to yours.
Exactly. It's called the mere exposure effect.
Yeah.
Basically, the more we're exposed to something, even if it's kind of neutral at first, the more we tend to like it.
Interesting. So even if someone doesn't, blow you away at first, you might start to see them differently over time.
Totally. And being near someone also just creates more chances to interact, right?
Yeah, more chances to, chat, find common interests. It all builds up.
Exactly. It shows the power of, putting yourself out there, going to events, joining groups.
You never know who you might meet.
Right. All right, so we've covered a lot today. Cognitive biases, conformity, persuasion, even traction. It's a lot to think about.
It is. And all this stuff from the social animal, it's like making me see the world in a whole new way.
That's great. So listener, what do you think? What are your takeaways from this deep dive so far?
Yeah.
It really is all these social forces at work. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. Just thinking about those cognitive biases, I'm going to be way more careful about confirmation bias now,
Yeah.
especially when I'm shopping online, reading reviews.
That's a good takeaway. And thinking about your work, that whole section on conformity.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about that. Sometimes I hesitate to speak up in meetings.
Totally. It's like you don't want to rock the boat.
Exactly. And, we were talking about how conformity isn't always bad. But I don't know. It makes me wonder, if we're all so easily influenced, how do we use that knowledge to be, more savvy? Not just in our personal lives, but at work, even as consumers.
That's the million-dollar question, right? I think the social animal is all about helping us become more aware,
Mhm.
more conscious of how these social forces are working on us.
So it's not about, becoming immune to influence. It's about recognizing it's there.
Exactly. And then, making choices that are aligned with our own values, our own goals. Okay, I see what you're doing there, social influence. Now I'm going to decide how I want to respond.
I like that, taking back control.
Yes. So, listener, think about it. What can you do to navigate your social world more effectively?
That's a good one. I think for me, it's about, questioning my assumptions more
Yeah.
and trying to see things from other people's perspectives.
Those are great strategies. And remember, it's an ongoing process, right? The more we learn about social psychology, the more we can understand ourselves, understand others. It's fascinating stuff.
It is. It's like we've given our listeners a whole new toolkit for understanding human behavior.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the social animal. We'll see you next time.
See ya.